This is O. Welcome to CLO Ed TV. Thank you for tuning in. I want to talk about 4 skills that I've learned as an engineer that I cannot live without. Now, by no means was I traditionally trained for these particular skills, but I just got in there and tried it and kept practicing at it and turned there and practiced to where my skills ended up being decent enough to achieve what I needed to achieve. Now, one of my most favorite skills, and it's one of these skills you can invest in with very little investment, is measuring. Now, I know that sounds kind of rudimentary. You were in school and learning how to measure with your inches and feet, but that is an extremely important skill in engineering. If things don't fit properly, mesh together properly, your products that you design will not work. I particularly often use a ruler. This is one of the ones I designed customly in Inkscape, and if you want to pick one up, links in the description below. Also use a pair of calipers, and this is really important when you're making a new part or retrofitting parts for some of your projects. If you plan on reverse engineering something, you need a set of calipers, rulers, protractors, compasses. There was no way that I could have made this shoe project right here without learning how to properly measure. In several projects on this channel, I've always used measuring tools and measurements in my sketches and in my designs. So measuring is the #1 skill that I use as an engineer and can't go back on. It's a really useful one, and that is soldering. So learning how to solder was intimidating at first, and I must admit I'm not the best at it. But with this particular skill, I've been able to repair several electronics. I was able to make custom wires for my solar system, and also even repair keyboards, mechanical keyboards. And soldering has been something that I'm glad I got into. Once again, at the beginning of the video, I said I've never been traditionally trained in using soldering skills, but I self-taught. And what I learned and taught myself was sufficient enough to do what I needed to do. And so I recommend getting formally trained using the soldering electronics such as motherboards and other small capacitors and transistors. But definitely soldering is one engineering skill that I'm glad I learned and could never live without. Soldering is useful for smaller electronics and wires. Welding has to be one of my favorite things to use for large items. Everything from bike frames, and I built a desk and a coffee table in these videos right here. If I would have gone into it and been intimidated to learn how to weld, then I wouldn't be able to have the skill to build custom frames, furniture, and other big items that I might need. And that skill is needed if you're gonna manufacture actual tools. So if you're gonna buy tools all the time, it can get expensive. But if you have a motor and you know how to weld a frame, then you can make almost any tool you can think of. Is one of the skills that I would never go back on, and I'm glad I learned how to weld. Last one I want to talk about is learning how to 3D model. And what that has allowed me to do is fulfill one of the dreams I've always had as a kid. I used to have a big collection of Legos and love to build things, and that really has translated over into every other thing that I've built that you have seen on this channel and things you don't see. And 3D modeling allows me to make custom individual parts, recreate things. Like, for example, this kayak video right here. In this video, I was able to create not only the propeller, but also the mount for the trolling motor that will go in the inflatable kayak. And without the measuring, without knowing how to 3D model, and I particularly use Blender, I did a video on this right here last week. 3D modeling has allowed me to create parts that don't exist, create things that don't exist, and be able to make them into fruition and make it a real item. So I'm glad I stuck in and learned how to 3D model. It's been a very important skill, especially when pairing it with a 3D printer. And just also in general, making your designs come to life. So I made this video to say that you can get started in any 4 of these. Just get out there and try it. Me, I'm not a professional in any of this, but I will tell you, if you practice at something and get good at it, you will become more than efficient at these skills in order to propel you through your engineering projects. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, definitely consider subscribing to the channel. Also, if you would like to support the channel, check out my other videos and playlists in the links in the description below. And I'll see you on the next video. Happy Friday.